getting WordPerfect for Linux to work in Linux in general and 2018 distributions that are out at this time. Right now I have an installation of SUSE Elite 42.3 kernel version. It's not the standard kernel that comes with it. It's 4.16.7. Today is Memorial Day, May 28th, 2018. So the first part I'm going to do here is going to be quick for people that are basically more advanced and they've tried following the instructions that are available up on the internet for getting WordPerfect to run in various places in Linux. And before I start out, there's been a lot of people that have been maintaining the knowledge base for this stuff over the years. And hey, what's up, Dan? I'm doing a technical presentation, kind of, but I may be able to talk a little later just about stuff. But right now, this is like info people want that are doing computer stuff. So anyway. So first people I want to thank are people that maintained the knowledge base over the years. And I start out with Wade Hampton, who made a WordPerfect mini how-to back in, I don't know what year this was, 1997. And so he basically talks about versions 6 and 7. And he also talks about something that I have not done yet, and that is to be able to get this older version of WordPerfect to run when it's been compiled for another operating system using something called, I think it's ICBS, if I got that right. Right now the status of ICBS is that it's ICBS 2 and it's an emulator, and the status of that is that there is a source page for it. And the last time anybody developed for it, the kernel version was at 3.14. Right now we're at 4.16, or it was somewhere in the 3s actually. Don't quote me on the exact version number of that. After that, there was a guy named Leon Goldstein I have to thank for his work over the years to at least pass on the information that's needed to get it to work. He passed on information about how to get the thing to install, and there was an individual named Valentin Sesnik who made a patch basically to fix something to do with Filtrix. I'm not going to go into that right now, but he still was part of the contribution of the knowledge base that had grown over the years. Then Marianne Penevska for a while kept the knowledge base going, and then Rick Moen did a pretty good write-up. The last time he's updated was back in 2004, and a lot of the information I use I've learned by reading, and I learned a lot, and this is going to be, when I go into later details, there'll be some technical information that some Linux users may want to use if they want to be able to use their old apps. And most recently, an individual named Peter Stone has a xwp8users.com website where he had enough information at least to get me started. But I also have to say there's a few pieces of information that are new that weren't really known as to why things weren't working in the past that I've been fortunate enough to be able to figure out. So with that, I'll just start out with what these two new things are. One is pretty minor. The major issue is that, and I'll run an LDD on one of these binaries. So when WordPerfect, in some instances, and not all, so, and actually I'll just go over this for a little bit. If you happen to have the Corel Linux 2000 version of WordPerfect 8.1 in the RPM, you're not going to have this problem. If you have the download edition, you're trying to use that of Corel WordPerfect 8 for Linux that was given away for free for a number of years by Corel, you're not going to have the problem I'm going to mention. But if you happen to find the version that was shipped on the CD, like the one I unboxed the other day, WordPerfect 8 for Linux, this thing, and you try to install it, or WordPerfect for Linux 7, which I found in a very obscure location on the net, so I tried it and I actually got it to work as well. You're going to have the problem I'm going to mention, and what it is that during the installation process, Corel basically compacted the ELF binaries. So this is talk for advanced people. Okay. They compacted the ELF binaries, and they have a proprietary decompression utility that comes with the CD, but it runs in the background. The reason why the script fails is because the libraries that are compatible with that utility, they'll load properly, but the problem is there's another library called Linux.gate. Well, I'll just show it. I'll do an LDB on it. Let's see where I have that. Figure out where I have that installed. I think there's a copy in. I do have WordPerfect 7, but I'm going to go through the whole thing anyway. So this would be. I'm just going to look. Wish it'd be a little smoother, but it's the way it is. All right. It's under. I'll just be able to point to it. There it is. Yeah. But it's in here. Right. wpdecompress, which comes in the CD. It's named a little bit differently. It's wpdecom or something like that. If I run LDD against that to show what libraries it's going to try to use when it runs, this Linux/gate.so1 comes up. I don't know much about that thing, but I do know that when I ran LDD in an older version of SUSE that I have in a virtual machine, only library M and library C SO5 came up as being linked to it. So I decided to use something I learned using package source a long time ago, and basically that's to export a package path. It's basically the LD, and you have to use this heavily for the program to work. Not only do you have to export the package path, at least in my experience, and someone might correct me on this, but you also have to, and I'll find the magic incantation here shortly. You also have to force every time the decompression utility runs to use just the two libraries at the bottom and not Linux Gate. Otherwise, it won't work. Now, I'm saying all this stuff assuming you know about installing the true type libraries. You know to install the shared libraries. You know to make the symbolic link to x.org. All these things are documented over at Peter Stone's website. But later on in this presentation, I'm going to go through just all the raw details. I'll even talk about different utilities and different methods you can use to try to figure out what's going wrong with an application you're trying to get run that's an older application. So this is going to kind of cover some stuff that will allow you to figure out how to use some really old software and get it to actually work. This is like just a test case. There may be other methods that you might use when you're trying to get older software to work. But these are all the methods that I use that help me get to the result that I have. And at the end, I actually made a shell script to replace the installer for WordPerfect 7. For the desktop version, I have a solution for getting the CD to actually work and install. And 8.1, I have an automated process with a script for that. But I haven't automated the download edition, but I'm pretty sure it'd probably be almost the same thing as the desktop edition. Basically, you have to edit the install script, but we'll get there. So let's get to this thing first. So this WP decompress, which originally was called, God, there's so many of these things. If I can remember I don't remember the name, so I'm just going to look. Or actually, I'm just going to look at it in my eventually I'm going to run through it. What method, and there's a specific method I had to use. Basically, it's got a different name. It's similar to that, wpdecom. I don't remember exactly what it was called. It's not going to be important now. Eventually it'll come up in this whole thing. So, but the magic incantation to get this to, now I haven't done the LD library path yet, and what's important to know is that I have the shared libraries installed, and as a result of installing the shared libraries were installed to a directory on my system at usr i486 Linux libc. In fact, we'll just go over there now. This directory is going to be a very important directory. And what I end up having to tell in every script, I've made wrapper scripts that basically will call the actual binary to get the program to run. So as you can see, it works. There it is. There's WordPerfect 7. This is WordPerfect 8.1. And then WordPerfect 8. All right. So what you have to do is use this thing. And people that are been around for a while or have used things like package source, they may have used something like this, and you basically say, this is where I want the system to load the libraries from. This is only part of what you have to do. And basically I'm just calling the path right up there. And then I have to export this definition, because that's just the way it works. I gotta make sure I spell it right, and caps and everything. That's part of the solution. Okay. Now, still, even if I do the LDD, it's still got the Linux gate. So to get it to actually work right, you actually have to use LDD itself. So this, you got variables in the script. I used to have it. Okay. And this is for every time you run the program. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the LD debug. I know little to nothing about this whole thing. I've looked this up at Stack Overflow. Equals all, so it'll tell us what it's actually looking at. Because, actually, let's just try it. Or how about this? I'll try to do the a better example would be to try to do the XWP print manager. Okay. Show what the difference actually is. WordPerfect print manager. Oh, it's in shared bank. And it crashes. Even though I've exported the library path, and I am pretty sure, in fact, let's do an LDD on that one. These are all the libraries it's going to try to use, and actually, if you look here, this is telling. So I've set the library path, and we've got library XT not coming out of user i486, but instead it's using the newer version. How come that is? Well, it's because I got a newer version of library XT with a higher priority on LD config. Now, if I switch the priorities, then my program will start using that older version of library XT, and I'm not sure that's what I want. So instead, I got to get this program to actually. So anything where it's using, I486, LABC, that stuff, it means I don't have a library m.so.5 anywhere else on the system but in there. But I do have like xpm, so.4 in some places, and we got this library gate going here. Okay, so now I'm going to call this library LD Linux, and I'm going to use it to start the program. So, and this is the key to the whole thing. This is the key to get the decompressor to work and the program to work afterwards, on top of all the things that people had done to show what steps you had to take to get WordPerfect to work in the first place. Okay, so I'm doing this stuff first. If you're new, just wait through it, just kind of keep the stuff in mind, and later on you might understand a little bit more about it. But people have been around and they know about all the basic configurations you have to do, but they still haven't had success. This is the part they need to know. And then there's one minor part about getting the printer to actually work, is there's an admin switch for the XWP print manager, and if you don't use that, you can't set up your printer, which I don't think anybody's really documented on any of the write-ups that they've done, even though they're very, very detailed, very steadfast, and people have really taken their time to try to get the instructions out there for other Linux users to use this older piece of software in their newer system. And as the base structure of Linux is how it's distributed changes over time, Xorg has disappeared, or x86 turned into Xorg. There's a little bit of difference there. The shared libraries no longer ship, TrueType fonts no longer ship, and this library gate became part of the mix. At least I believe that's the issue. But trot started to set in. So we got a program that's binary compatible with our basic system down to the kernel level, but there are other issues that are stopping it from working. And this, okay, so I'm going to do this. First, I'm going to call up library LD. I do have LD config. I ran LD config. I've done that. Now you go library path. I'm saying these are the libraries I want to use. Okay. So basically, I'm running this ld-linux.so.2 program. I'm saying use the specific library path right here to get all your libraries, and now I'm going to do opt. Which one I tried to do? WordPerfect 7. Actually, ppmgr, and there you go. So it works. It crashed before. The reason why it crashed before is it was calling up some of these newer versions, or maybe it's calling up Linux Gate. Now, if we're curious to find out what exactly it's doing, and if I put the admin switch, I'll be able to create the printer. But I'll go into that stuff later. If I want to try to see what it's actually doing, I could try this ld_debug. Equals all, and it'll show me everything that it's trying to use. And I'm just looking through here, and I'm seeing that it's still looking for library XT and X11 and PM, just in user library. That is subsequent lookups. But nonetheless, doing it this way, I haven't had the problems I've had with the crashing from before, so it's enough to get it working, I guess. So that's what you kind of need to know if you're experienced with this stuff. You've done this stuff for a while, and you got to use that same kind of wrapper mechanism. Let's get out of this thing. You don't need the LD debug all, but you have to do that same kind of wrapping mechanism for each and every file that needs to be decompressed. The good news for version 8 that comes on the CD that has the compressed ELF files. Good news is that all you have to do is modify the install.wordperfect script. So you can't really run the installer from the CD because CD's read-only. So you're going to have to copy all the files down into some directory, and then you have to modify. And there were 3 places that I modified for the WordPerfect 8. Installer, and basically I put the same live ld linux.so2 library path, used that thing, and I exported the package path also at each instance where it wants to call, and now I'll be able to find what the name was, because for some files when WordPerfect does its install, it changes the name of the file from what it was on the CD to what it ends up when the install is over with. There's a file called VRUXKey that's around line 443. I don't know, let me just, not really gonna make a big difference. It comes up here. I highlighted it. You probably can't even see what that is, but it is just past line 404. I know I'd make a patch. Maybe I'll make a patch for it. The next file it's trying to deal with is still VRUXKey. Those are kind of minor, but the major change was at around, because I have 6 lines, it's probably at around line 583 or 4 of the script, where it's got this decomp function, and the file is called wpdecom. And I do the LD library path, export library path, and then I probably could have put that at the top, but I nested this in if-then conditions that already existed, and then I call this library LD linux.so2 library path. So hey, this is what I want you to use. And maybe I have to have it go so far out as to use the LIB there. Maybe I have. See, I only have. I didn't have that in there. Let's see what happens when I do LD debug equals all. Are we looking at anything but, or any of these libraries not coming from user I486? Well, now it's using library XT. Oh, yeah. So I think I had to have that library part in there. That's where I went wrong. So yeah, it is actually calling and only calling the libraries from that directory, which is what we want. And I gotta check my wrapper scripts to make sure I got that right, because otherwise there could be other issues come up. That's the major thing people would want to know. Let's go into a couple things. The tools you actually have available to you. Let's take a look at the I'm going to cover all these various things. So there are two tools that I've actually covered as possible ways to either force the libraries to be used, to force your system, your program to use the libraries that is intended to be run with it. Exporting the library path, calling LDD directly, and point it to the absolute path it needs to go into. Then there's some other stuff you're trying to figure out what's going on. There is at times, and this is not, I don't believe this is the case with this WordPerfect here. Sometimes the binary can be compiled to have the R path embedded in it. So basically it points to a the binary itself is looking for the library file in a certain location. That's not really what's going on, but you can use something called readelf, which I'm not all that familiar with. I'm going to look up what I actually did. I've used it before, but I forgot what the readelf. So yeah, I'm gonna cheat and use Stack Overflow. And readelf will say what libraries that the binary has been compiled to use. If you have no idea, if you got a piece of software, you don't know what dependencies it needs, readelf will tell you what it needs. LDD will also, and LDD will tell you if the library is not found. I think it's readelf minus A. I'll do this against the program manager. And the output could be quite verbose. In fact, I'll probably have to redirect the output to a text file. Just to be able to examine it. It tells you a lot about this program and how some of the stuff is more technical than I'm even completely aware of. Now within here there's something called rpath, and there isn't. That would mean that the binary wants to find its libraries in a specific location, and if it doesn't, it's not happy. Just going over readelf, it wasn't really helpful in this circumstance, but it's worth something. Now I'm going to take a look at the files that came on the CD. And I actually have an image of the CD, so I'm going to open this up with total ISO. And I'm having a problem talking to Debug server. Okay. Oh, because I'm running this as root. I don't want to do that. Alright, so in here, or the binary files. Let's make a copy of this. And you notice now, even when I copy it to my home directory, it looks like it's grayed out. These are the files that have been compressed with their proprietary. There it is, right there, with their proprietary tool, WordPerfect decompress. Okay, I'm going to open this up with hex editor, and you kind of see what it looks like. It looks pretty compact. Now I'm going to open up the same file from within the opt directory. Shared. CJPEG, no. Here. There it is. With khex out of it. Actually, I'm just gonna make sure I get the right thing. And you can see how different that looks. There's the before, there's the after. A lot of executables do have a lot of space in it. And also you can see it's saying it wants to read that library SO1 there. But you can tell that basically, and there's some of the stuff that came out of the readelf anyway, but this is compacted. Okay, so now let's run the wpdecompress on that. And the way it works is you have to of course, I have to have the wrapper going, and I gotta say the name of the file I want and then where I want to put it, and it makes a copy of it, decompressed, and that's kind of how the installer works. So there's CJPEG. Let's see if I can find. I don't know if I put this. I think this WordPerfect decompressed. Let's see if it's an 8. That does not exist. Okay. So in the later version, during the install, they don't actually place that. So I'm going to try to use, oh no, I'll just look on the CD, actually. And there's some installer, these are the utilities, and this wpdecom this is a mounted CD image. So if I try doing that, I'm going to put it in home jack. I'm going to call it something else, CJPEG1. Let's see here if I do edit, paste. All right. I'm going to see why the installer fails. It says can't open the file. Alright, so now we get a real treat. So now we have to make sure that we've exported the library path. I think I have that done, but I'm just going to make sure it's done, and then I'm going to do this LDD without the LDD debug all, and I'm going to call up the utility and it has to point to the original, and then what I'm going to create, or the resulting decompressed file. In this case, I'll call it CJPEG1, and it didn't barf at me, and there it is, and now it looks like it's an executable. And we open it up with khex edit, and we can see it is not nearly as compressed as it was to start with. This happens, I know pretty much for a fact that in WordPerfect 7, I had to basically I had to remake the installer because I couldn't figure out where to wrap that incantation in their installer script. Maybe if I look a little closer, I might find out. I would save myself a lot of time, but basically I had to go and make my own installer script, and we'll see it in action later on, but what I have it do is decompress every compressed file one by one and place it where it's supposed to go one by one, with all this extra stuff wrapped around just the WordPerfect decom command. Now, the other question was, well, how did I know where to put stuff? And there actually is, at least in the WordPerfect 7 packages that arrive that I've not unzipped yet, there is, but it actually ends up in the end in the install under shared here. There's a file called ship 7, I think. Yeah, this thing. They also have a file called ship 5.3, and that is an older version. I don't know why they have it there. But for ship 7, basically, if you look at this, this right here is the name of a directory that opens up after all the in 7, after all the files are unzipped properly, and it's so complicated to get it done. I just have the installer itself unzip it. It could do that much. There's a directory called this _d, and in that directory there is a file called .session, and it's supposed to end up in the WordPerfect library subdirectory in the place that it's installed, or where is that? In here, and it's supposed to be renamed to .wp buildx, which is and if I got this thing working right, I got to show the hidden files. There it is. So hyperhelp should be in shbin 10. There it is. And so printed out the replacement installer script that I made for WordPerfect 7 is about 16 pages long. The good news for 8 that you would buy in the box set, you just copy that sucker into a directory, and then you have to edit the WordPerfect install script with this incantation. The easiest one to do is the Debian install. I'll show exactly where that comes from if you have the Debian box set. I'll show where, because there's an image of Corel Linux 2000 there. I'll show where the, let me get rid of these two things here. I'll show where the one repository WordPerfect for Linux 7 is stored, and it's an evaluation version. It was designed for people to be able to download and use for free for 15 days. And then after 15 days, you're supposed to get licensed after that. So the fact that it's out there is not an issue. The download edition of WordPerfect 8, I haven't really automated. I may try that last, because I don't think I have it installed here. Or if I do, it was an old install, and I want to be able to install it new and know I could do it here. The Debian install is a little more detailed. It's Peter Stone has this. Peter Stone, right? Peter Stone, yeah. Peter Stone has documented that fairly well, how to deal with it. The only thing that really didn't work for me is when I converted the Debian file to a targa zip. I had to manually place the files. I couldn't just unzip it from the root directory and have things land where it's supposed to go, even as root. I don't know why. It just didn't work at this stage. A couple little things miscellaneous about the WordPerfect 7 and the reason why I ended up doing the install the way I do it, which is a little ugly, but it works. It's pretty fast. It's got zip files and zip files, and some of the zip files in the zip files are actually in parts. So where it's got CF00 and CF01, this thing, for some reason, they max these zip files out at 3.9. These two are supposed to be combined. So if you're trying to do this a little more manually, which I think is kind of, I tried. It's still hard to do. And still, there's one thing I haven't handled with WordPerfect 7 is there's a Adobe Acrobat that's in an archive that I haven't dealt with my installer script right now. So that's one thing it won't do. These are supposed to be combined, so you can use the cat command. You're supposed to do cat 7g underscore cf star, and then redirect the output. It'll look for both of those, and you redirect the output, and you call the output 7g cf, and you'll see another zip file. But if you combine ones that don't go together, the zip file won't have everything you need. So, and it gets really tedious, and there's a number of these. Just to go over just the anatomy of some of the stuff, the SDK, I don't think I even used. The manuals not only contains the manual, but it contains Adobe Acrobat, and I don't know what version of it. In this AR, this is Adobe Acrobat, and it's got lots of parts. And I was able to manually get it to actually, I think about it, I'm probably going to go through this because this INS it's a standalone. So let's see if I can get it to all this stuff here. Actually, already comes, I believe. Yeah, these utilities already come in the base Linux GUI. You don't need that. And I'm going to look and see whether in I think this stuff's in the shared directory. Anyway, yeah, this hassign delfil. The CDE DT is also an archive file that needs to be unzipped. I was able to cover that with my install script. There's the cleanup. Okay, I don't think anything's really missing here from this INS stuff. inetpub xpm on install lsign. I'm just checking this out because I haven't really. The prscnv. Yeah, it's all there. And this README license WordPerfect, the name gets changed and gets put in actually another directory. Okay, so that one isn't even worth going into. These three here that's got the manual are worth it. I'm going to create a new directory here. And the question is, am I root or not? I'll find out. Yeah, I am. All right, so these I'll just talk about how to deal with these. So, supposedly. Or change ownership on all this stuff. Alright, so let's go into the alright, so just do cat 7g underscore man and maybe man o star. It's part of the issue. 7g underscore man. And there's the new zip. And these that were maxed out at this size, I don't know why they did it, for some space reason, should all now be in here. But of course, we still have more archives to deal with. So we're going to get these out now. and you can imagine this goes ARZ. So concatenate takes a file and says put it somewhere, and the redirect says put it with 7G man. ZA star. That's probably what the deal was, why I was having problems with it. And it should, now there's ARZA. And the problem I was having, it's got all this stuff in here. Got Netscape in there. I want this to extract to this directory, so action. I had to do this manually. I didn't know how to do it with the no, we're just going to make a new directory for me. Alright, let's see what we got. Yeah, I didn't do it. Now I could try to just copy this thing. There's 2 right there. What the hell? Oh. Duh. Okay, let's go to 2 now. Alright, so it extracted and put it somewhere else, which is what has to happen. Then you can get the stuff out of there. But it still has some kind of deal. So it might take that's a root user. That's strange. See what it says this is. This is the tar archive. like unzip. Not the right directory. Yeah. Yeah, change the name of this thing. It's just weird. Not in zip format. Okay. Be rude to do this. Some of the old timers might actually know what I need to do. Expected EOF and ARP is exiting. Question is, what the heck am I missing here? Or am I missing anything? Fine. So I'm browsing around the tar to see what I'm missing. And I don't understand what it was saying. Alright. That's not where I want to be. Yeah, okay. Browsers I've got. What? Kilobytes. Okay, and then that 7.1. Okay. This is going to be a little tedious here. Alright, in the fonts directory we have 1.3 megabytes, 19 items. Okay. It's looking like it came out alright. Of course, these are older versions of Adobe, but if you want to go, you know, legacy, you know, in style, you have to. All right, let's go to the reader directory here. We have help. Okay. Then we have Intel Linux, which seems to be a problem. And let's look at. I'll look at that last. I'll look at res. And we've got basically the same deal here. I'm not missing anything there. So now we got this Intel Linux directory. We've got a problem. Ooh. Fonts and reds. They look like symbolic links. that looks really familiar, but that seems to be more complete than what I have here. Res, it's a symbolic link. This has the actual stuff. Fonts. Unless, of course, I'm misreading this. Is this a symbolic link? Yeah, it is a symbolic link. So that worked. Okay, so we got. Hold on. Back to the reader. We got everything here. 4 bytes, 9.1, 13.7. Okay, those are all working. So it's basically again this Intel Linux directory. There's a symbolic link to the libraries. What we got going on here? Those are symbolic links, which are fine. And binary directory. Yep. And just app defaults now. Okay, so it looks like everything got out of there, even though it's giving me some error here. So that's the way you handle it. If you want to get those in there, I don't know exactly where these things go. I think they probably just go in the base of these 3 here. So I figured out a way to automate that process. I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to go ahead and put that in here, if I'm allowed to. Why is that? Alright, I'm going to change the ownership of all of it if I can. That's probably okay, good. Why is that? Am I not? Maybe I'm not root here. And of course, making the icons are going to be in manual as well. So this is kind of like some of the, not kind of, this is some of the low-level stuff. All right, so if I wanted this browser to work, see how old this thing is. It probably needs wrappers. Let's see. Oh, and the default will be okay. So we're WordPerfect reader. Yeah. opt wp7 Actually, gotta spell it right. Autocomplete won't work here. N-N-I-N-T-E-L-L-I-N-U-X in for Netscape. What the hell? That's not it. Where is it? And you're not going to UK right. Bastard. What the hell? Browser's fonts and reader. That's just a plugin. Wait, it's a script. I don't know. Yeah, it's not in there. Alright. We'll do it that way. Ew. Alright. I'm not really worried about it. Alright, so now let's go through the deals. Make sure I covered all the really technical shit. Got the text editing, redelf. Oh, and there's Strace that you can use. So Strace will also tell you what might cause the program to not work anymore. And I'll show you how you run that. I think if I rename this thing Schlib 101 actually I don't even need to do that because I'll just run it without the wrapper and it'll crash. Strace will give you a clue as to what goes on, so let's go. In fact, I'm messing with WordPerfect 7 8 I mean. Let's just do the XWP draw. Okay, so it crashed, so let's try this again and see what Strace tells us. Strace kind of tells us what calls are going on. It's a little different than LDD debug. You might get a clue if somewhere in here it says file not found. So if you're working with an old actions not found delay, open. Okay, so it says there's no such file or directory in user. Excellent. I don't even know if I'm root or not over here. So sometimes it'll tell you, oh, this is the file. Basically, Strace is most important to find out, what the issue is. So And sometimes it'll look for the same file in different places. So our system wants to use user x11r6 library x11. That's a symbolic link you would have made following the instruction at Peter Stone's site, unless you had, no, I think in all cases, user x11r6 library x11. Now there's no pixmap thing here. That's not some. So, best I could do to try to get this thing to work a little better is, well, first of all, I'm going to figure out whether that is actually a problem by using the LD preload, LD library path thingamabob. You already got that path, so and you died. Okay, let's see if it's doing the same error. You can do strace, I can do LDD debug. Not strace. Yeah, it's still looking for pixmaps directory. I don't remember that coming with the package. I don't remember that file being in there. I think it's going to be a directory. Okay, so user library x11r6 x11. Just try to create a new folder called pixmaps. And a folder called WP70 with a cap. And now I'll see whether it's trying to make that thing or not. We still got a problem. Nothing appeared. I'm going to just do the touch command and let's see what. I'll just create a new blank text file called read. Let's see what happens. User share, what the hell? XG error dbase. Why is it looking there? kind of stuff you have to do. I might as well just go through it. Wow. User share X11. XT error. What permissions do we have here? Root, okay. So there's some things that the system expects to have. And let's try it again now. Now what's it not have? Resource temporarily unavailable. I wonder if it depends on some libraries that are, let's do LDD on this XWP draw. What are we looking for? Okay, so it's not really looking for anything that try read elf. Minus A. And we got all that stuff. All right. Library N, library C, XT, okay. A lot of these things I'm not going to know what the hell it's trying to do. I don't think it's looking for an R path. I wonder. Even in version 8, it's not working all that well. Still looking for the same stuff, though. Oh. Icons. Why is it there? So I actually have to make what if I use this? This is weird. It's going to make a difference. I guess I got the password wrong. All right. Broke my own rules. Okay. I wonder whether if I actually use linux.so1 if I get a better result. Well, there it is. So if we want to use XWP, I got to make a wrapper script for this thing. I'm putting user bin. In fact, I haven't covered that yet. So I'm going to get out of this thing. Wow. 2397. Okay. All right, so that's how it works, and I've got copy this XWP7 here. This is what the wrapper script looks like to get to start. And I forgot what the damn call was. Right there, XWP draw. I'm going to call this XWP draw. Seven. I do want to look at what permissions are. Our do I? I don't want to go into user bin. Pretty sure it's not by root. Let me move it to there. Now, I don't know what that's going to do for integration. If you need to call xpdraw from WordPerfect itself, but now it should wpdr autocomplete. There it is. It's got the library paths exported, so it's going to work. It's calling the right library as far as I can tell. Now it's still saying actions not found, delete not x character. Did I get that? Yeah, I still had that. Be able to do anything with this. Like a spreadsheet or something. I don't know how to edit the title of this thing. Seems to be working. This feature is not implemented yet. Alright, so there we are. Now I'm just going to go through the install stuff. Now that I am worn out. Let's do WordPerfect 7 first. I'll start out fresh. And actually, no, I should probably go through the stuff that they have that's well known now. So you have to install what are called the shared libraries and the true type libraries. And you have to make one symbolic link, and maybe you can mess around with making other files using strace to see what programs are looking for. But I don't think that turned out to be important. The important thing was wrapping the libraries with the using LD 2.0. So the shared libraries you're not gonna find it in any repository, for at least in my case for SUSE Linux. Where they're actually at is let's go to XWP users, 8 users. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so this guy has a repository. And for SUSE, it's Slackware. These two here are what you need for Slackware. This is what you need for OpenSUSE. You click on this, it starts to download an RPM file that you need. To install it, you don't want to keep it anytime. It's going to harm my computer. And then here's the fonts. So these two RPMs get downloaded, and then you have to, as root, which you become as, you can't use the YASP installer to do this. You do RPM-I and name a file. So you type SH and it'll autocomplete for you. Press enter, it'll install. Same thing with the true type libraries, and it ends up populating various files. And with this version of the shared libraries, is very important. It's pointing to that i486 directory. If you happen to get, there's another one, like I believe this one for Slackware maybe. I'm not sure, but I'll look at it. Let me go back to my home directory. Where are you at? Darn it. Downloads. Well then, this thing here. This is pointing to an i386 directory with Slackware embedded in the name. So where I was pointing to i486 in my shell scripts there, or when I was doing the command line to get, WordPerfect draw for WordPerfect 7 to run, you're going to be using this incantation here. i386 slop. That's going to be the thing that you add. The next thing, so the line is going to look different for someone using Slackware. And it's in the LD config file, because the next thing to actually do after you have those two things installed is to get the system to even recognize that you have those libraries installed at all, let alone forcing it, is you have to be root, you go into etc, and there's something called ldso.conf. And where I have user i46/Linux, this thing here, for Slackware people, you'd have, i386/slackware/linux/GNU libc1 library instead of that. Then as root, you have to run something called ldconfig. ldconfig, not in caps, of course. Press enter, and then the system at that point is ready to use those libraries, and it will use those libraries as a lower priority. So in my system, the top priority, when an application calls for a library of a specific name, it looks in user local library 64, amongst other things. The second highest priority is user local library. The third highest priority would be this right here. If I put this up higher, it would take these in preference to those other two, as far as I know. Then after running ldconfig, there's one symbolic link to make up for the fact that when xorg doesn't use a particular symbolic link that x386 used to use. The x386 project went into disuse, and xorg took over, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago. I don't remember the exact date. So this is where he's saying make this directory. User, x11r6, library x11, and then you create a symbolic link. And this user share x11 locale usually comes stock with a x.org x-windowing system. So we're still kind of in the advanced stuff, but you have to know this basic stuff to get it to work. So if you have the shared libraries installed, you run ldconfig, you've got the type 1 true type fonts, and you have the symbolic link, it should be in pretty good shape. Now this is, he's got stuff here, there's some fonts, but he's talking about 8.1. But the basics, this basic stuff here that I went over, true type fonts, symbolic link, shared libraries, ldconfig, those four things allow WordPerfect 7, 8 personal, 8 download edition, and 8.1, all of them to run. The rest of the stuff kind of varies from other stuff. The steps vary between versions, basically, and distributions. If you're unfamiliar with Linux, basically there are 3 general types of files used for install, but one is not very common. It's for Slackware. And so for Slackware, that is a target zip file. In Slackware style, you just make a target zip file and put the files where they're supposed to go, and it works. There's complicated requirements to set up an RPM and a deb file. An RPM files was originally made for Red Hat, and it was made for SUSE uses it. Different distributions use RPM files. And deb files was originally made for Debian, but Ubuntu uses it. But most importantly, Corel Linux 2000 used it back in the day when they came out with 8.1. A little bit of history of where these things were sold. There was a version 6 I don't have. If anybody has it, I'd be willing to buy the Corel Internet Desktop 1 that they sold WordPerfect 6 with. You can't find it anywhere. If anybody has it, I'd love to buy it from them. That was actually, it was Caldera's Internet Desktop 1.0. Corel bought the source code for Novell when Novell had it, so in version 6 and 5.2 they had it ported over to a number of different Unix platforms, with the exception, I think, of Linux. When Corel bought it, they had a company port it over, and I forgot the name of the company. I guess I could look for Rick Mullen, who hopefully I thanked as the other people for his information. I think I did. He goes into a little bit of this stuff. I forgot the name of the company. SD Corp. SD Corp ported it over to Linux, which probably wasn't much. I mean, they had, their source code was so good they were able to compile it in like 6 platforms and maybe 8 different operating systems. They basically compiled it for Linux, and they sold for 7.0 right, 6.0. They included it with Caldera's internet desktop. Caldera was pretty progressive and aggressive, actually, in getting business apps in its distribution that first time, and then they started to as the higher the version, the less stuff they had, including a network client that I was interested in at one point. They started stripping down the by the time I got a version of Caldera, they didn't have much in there. Anyway, so, and then for 7, they just sold it on its own through SD Corp as a box set, of which a copy I found in a FreeBSD repository, which I'll go into where these locations are right now and we'll go into the history of it. Version 8, they sold a box set you would buy at a computer store. Back when they used to sell box sets of anything Linux. Now everything's just downloaded and free. The internet is king in the Linux world. You have to have internet to be able to use Linux effectively. They also made a personal edition that was downloadable, would run in Linux under the native binary. For some reason, when they decided they were going to make 8.1, let's go with that again. So 6 was boxed with Caldera's Linux desktop. 7 was sold on its own to box set. Or was it? Yeah, it was. 8 was sold on its own in a box set. They did it as Corel. They sold it from Corel's website rather than SD Corp's website. When 8.1 came out, they bundled it with Corel Linux 2000, which was a distribution that used Debian style installer files, but they weren't labeled as such. They didn't have an extension on it. And so in Peter Stone's page, if I get back here, he's talking, the only way you can get actually is WordPerfect 8.1 is by having that deb file, as far as I know. Now supposedly there was an 8.2 that was pre-released at some point, but I've never seen it actually floating around anywhere. So now I'm going to talk about how to get these where are these things. So for 7, because I don't have a copy of 6. For version 7, where the heck was that? It was located on an FTP server. Okay, am I going to be allowed to type, or do I have to? In a FreeBSD repository. And why is that? I'll get into that. FreeBSD has Linux binary compatibility. Has had it for quite some time, so it was able to, people were interested in installing Linux apps that they had that binary compatibility enabled, and there it is. This is where I got it from. So if you download the stuff, now when you're doing the install in general, it is very, very, I mean, it's not easy to get this installed because of the compression issue that I went over earlier. There is once you're able to get this stuff unzipped, I'll show you what my method was. I basically use the run me script to get the installer to basically unzip everything that's going to be needed for the system. Then you got to manually move everything, and there's like 130, literally 130 files you have to get rid of the compression for. So after downloading all this stuff, in fact, I have a script that automates this, so I'm able to just do that. What's my this is root, is it? Which is this? This is me. All right. So, but before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna. I could probably just delete this if I want. Now I still have those wrapper scripts in user bin. I'm just going to rename it. But I'm not very confident about it. So you have to be root to use this thing. And the way I have it set up is I put that archive actually at Google Drive. And I have it download the stuff from Google Drive, put it in the root directory, and unzip the packages as the instructions say with that archive. And I close the web page, of course. But it basically says gunzip it and then tar xf all the files that you downloaded. And then I run the run me script, and that will place, so I have to have two shells open, and that will place the full program unzip, but the executables are not decompressed in the right places. And then my script will take all this stuff and expand the executables, put them over where the files where they belong, based on a setting in the script itself, where I choose where to install it. And then it opens up the font installer, because you have to install fonts. You basically have to, and then you have to install the printer and hope you get a pass-through PostScript printer. You can cheat and you can get past the PostScript printer from WordPerfect 8. It'll work in 7 actually. Oh, sorry. Now what I'm going to do, go into here. First off, I'm going to delete this because this is just, I'll just rename it, because it's going to create another one of those. I have a warning in my script that says make sure you have all your stuff done, and I have it so that if you already have the shared libraries, TrueType fonts, the symbolic link, and LD config run, it won't try to do that again. You can, in the script I have, you can disable it. Okay, so now it's downloading stuff. It created this directory, and this is going to start populating. Once there's about 15 things in here, and it'll even create a desktop icon for you. Wow. So I'll put that in the trash. So the most time-consuming thing is to get all the parts to download. Now a lot of these are actually language sets. This is German, this is Canadian English, this one's Canadian French, this is Spanish, that is French. This is the main one, and basically the US language is embedded in it already. This is Italian. This is the Netherlands, Australia, and there's the text file it comes with, and the United Kingdom language. There's the run me script, and I even make it executable in one step. Unzip all the stuff as instructed on that page, just does that, keeps these there. Now, the installer is really annoying. If the install fails, and it will fail because it won't decompress the executables, under normal circumstances, all these things that you've bothered to unzip will have a .bk extension added to it by the installer. So basically now I'm going to open up my other shell, and then root. To the root directory, cd to the WordPerfect 7 Linux directory, which is there, and I'm going to do the run me script. Now, you just leave it alone. Let it sit there through the entire installation. Okay, now you just press enter, and it's now put a lot of stuff in place already that quickly. And basically, after I press enter, it's going to start up the font installer. And this is how you do the font installer. Install type 1, just do the graphics only. You change it from opt WP7 share libraries to dig all the way to the base, at least on my system. In fact, all of them will have this. User X11R6, library X11. That's an old incantation that you would have memorized, and then once you're in the type 1 directory, you say OK. Same thing with this. And if we can keep going to the parent directory, user library X11 or user X11R6, library X11, fonts type 1. Okay, and then you install. Well, notice all those are picked. You say yes. You may also have to mess with the license manager as well once this is done. So, in WordPerfect 8 and 8.1, there is a non-graphical font installer that will just take care of this for you. With one command line, it's a one-liner. So I'm going to exit this, and those fonts should be installed. Now, press enter. Now it's going to download the icon, create the icon. Now we're going to do a printer. I've already created the XWP PMGR script, but you know what? I don't think I have it calling up with the LD config. I'm not sure. It's already in. If I had one there, it's been replaced already with. No, it does. It does. It has the LD script actually. It was the XP Paint that I got confused with. So now I set up my printer, and this is a little more difficult. Print manager comes up, file, printer, create, edit. And since it had the admin switch, I'm able to do stuff. Now it's got pass-through PostScript. That is nice. I'm going to do setup because that's what you want, pass-through PostScript. And then you click a destination to a printer you have already. I will select my Canon. And that pass-through PostScript already existed from another. It's looking in my root directory. For that. If you hadn't run it before, it will not have that. In that case, you have to do add. I think I figure out where are the printer drivers. think they're in this US directory, but, and you do printer driver files. We got 2 pass-through postscripts. Let's try this LaserJet 3 if I want. But if you don't have that, let's look here. I think I gotta look in this. What comes with stock with this thing? See, it's already there. It's called a PRS file. It's not there. Shared log. What about in here? US. Already there. If you can't find the PRS file, I wonder where the hell it is. No. I don't remember. I gotta look at my installer. If it even has any PRS files. Default. That's 5Ns. Where the fuck does that go? Shared library. 10. Go look in opt. The one you're doing. 10. And what the hell? That should have been there. Where am I? There it is. Default PRS and there it is. Input, output error, what the hell? it doesn't.
When you're through, let me know.
I guess it calls it a LaserJet 3 asset. That's how you add it. I'm going to get rid of it though. And you just exit the print manager. And pretty much you're done. And then WP7, you've got your thing going here. Now it has this thing about the thing being expired. And I think you have to do this as root. There's something called, darn it, no, that's not it. It's shared. I forgot what it was. Something like TK. This thing, install IK. You have to do it twice. There's something else was going on there. Something called, then I had to do some debugging to figure out what was going on. This trace wasn't very helpful, so that wasn't You have to do, that's right, XWP 7, I think it's admin. And then it says it'll expire. And you have to do it as root. So you do the license OK, then you do that. And it'll last. Now for the printing, file, print. I might have to redo it again. Some of the stuff just doesn't really work all that well. You actually have to use the print manager again. There it is. And then you just test. And there it goes. Alright, so that's WordPerfect 7. Alright, now we've got WordPerfect 8 to do, so I can get rid of this old one. Alright, let's do WordPerfect 8. Now, and one other thing, if the printing doesn't work well, you can get, unfortunately, you have to get from the shared libraries pass-through PostScript. I may just make this available as part of my install routine to, let me go back and see if I can do that without cheating. Oh, and by the way, I should probably just quit this installer, just cancel, yeah, and then it does that, you Control C, close the shell, and you're done. It still is a little messy with the printing. So that's the root user, and also there's the icon I created. So what I really want to do is get that pass-through PostScript from there and put it really in the shared libraries. So I'm not sure that people are going to have that option. So it should be there now. And everything seems to want to disappear. That's strange. Alright, so I think I'm going to end this for now. I'll do WordPerfect 8, but basically I've set the printer the same way. Otherwise I might come out not looking so bright. Yeah, that was weird.